Welcome back, everyone, to the Rampage channel. Hope everyone's having an awesome day, whatever day you are watching this on. And today I want to make a video kind of about something different. And how many games have you guys won? Or rather, how many games have you guys gone through without losing? Probably like maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe 20 if you're on a really good streak. Or maybe you're just 5, maybe 3. Me personally, probably about 5 right now. I'm going to show you a person that was on a 57 game win streak. 57. And not online. Over the board. And that person is the one and only World Championship Challenger, Javakir Sundar. And today I'm going to show you the man who broke that streak, Mr. Pragg himself. And this was played during the Superbet Chess Classic a day ago. So let's jump in right into it. You're going to see how the man's streak was broken. And yeah, he started with e4. And generally, you know, Javakir is a person that likes to fight. So Pragg played e5, just being solid in nature. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, c3, knight f6. We're kind of a classic Italiano. What generally happens is people play d3, and at the top level, d3 is played 98% of the time because you want a long battle. When you play the Italian, you want a long, you know, day at the office, right? Normally, things like games that go in the Italian take around 5 to 6 hours to finish because it's a slow game. But Javakir said, nah. So he played d4. This is actually a line that's very playable, obviously. It's the other move. And the point is that takes, bishop b4. There's two lines here, but mainly one is more sound than the other. There's knight c3, and there's bishop d2. Knight d2 is not played because there's just knight e4. Javakir, sorry, bishop d2 is not played because there's knight e4. And Javakir played knight d2. So we played this line, knight e4, d5, and Pragg says, I'm going to take on the challenge. And he took on d2. We get takes, and Pragg wraps his knight around to e7. I generally know, because I used to play this kind of variation, that there are some d6 ideas for white, where they sack a pawn and they can't, you castle, you always try to win this pawn, or you play like rook e1, you get a lot of activity, and this light square bishop is often very entombed. But Javakir said, no, I'm very aggressive, and he played castle, so obviously he wants a fight, right? And we get d6, h4. So h4 is just played because he wants h5 and h6, just to kind of soften up black structure on the king side. Pragg says, I don't care. So he plays castles, h5, h6. So he stops Javakir's idea entirely, and Javakir plays rook g1. This rook to g1, maybe not rook this rook to g1, because this rook could potentially lift up if he wants to come into the attack, right? And rook g1 is aimed because he wants g4, g5. White has kind of one plan to attack, and that is kind of it. So seeing this, Pragg played the logical move bishop g4. We get knight h4 here from Javakir. What he's trying to do is play f3, right? We see that every move is kind of has a purpose behind it, right? If we go back even until knight e7, castles, you know, we want a castle, h4, trying to play h5, h6, h5, trying to play h5, h6, h6, rook g1, trying to play g4, bishop g4, knight h4, trying to play f3, and then g4, right? Every move kind of builds on itself. And Pragg plays queen d7. The main reason he plays queen d7 is just protect, give another layer of protection. Often plays c6, trying to undermine the pawn, and then the rook can easily swing over whenever it wants. The rooks are also connected, so you know, a very nice and fluid position. Javakir is obviously still in his prep. He has around 1 hour and 30 minutes here, while Pragg has 1 hour. Bishop d3, rook e8, and here Javakir could have just followed up with his plan with f3, and then takes, and then maybe g4, and then maybe get this position, which is very, you know, very fluid kind of position. But, you know, black is doing completely fine here. White is also doing completely fine. Generally, white would just play f4 and just keep, you know, trying to get into the attack. But Javakir plays bishop c2. And what he's trying to play is some queen d3 action, trying to line it up here. So Pragg just blocks it. So there's no more queen d3 because queen b5 guards against it. Javakir follows his plan, f3, takes g4, bishop g6. Here's the problem. Pragg is up 2 pawns, right? And the problem is when your opponent is up 2 pawns, you have to have a very, very good idea or very, very good plan to get that compensation back. And the problem is, if Javakir takes this bishop on here, right here, then knight g6, and if you keep trading, you're just down 2 pawns. Pragg is going to play rook e5, rook d5, he's going to bring his other rook in, and white doesn't have enough firepower, because if you ever play g5 trying to knock on this door, it gets closed, right? h5, and then there's not enough to sacrifice. So, black was going to be completely fine, and he's going to be up 2 pawns, so he can try to push for the win. But since Javakir has white, he sees that, he wants to win, so he plays knight f5. And the point of knight f5 is you're trying to find an opening. If black takes here, and then this gets open because this is in a pin, right? So white is very, very happy here. Pragg plays queen c5. I can't really explain this move to you. I don't really know what it does. But, he's trying to set up a pin here, and maybe in the future he just wants to get his pawns rolling, right? And then you can also take on d5 whenever possible. Javakir just plays king b1 because he just wants to get out of the pin. Maybe bishop b3 to try to defend his pawn. And Pragg says, okay, it's time for me to grab my third pawn on d5. And again, 3 pawns up for Pragg, right? So he has clearly found a way to out-prep Javakir, because he definitely knows more about the position, right? Pragg has been an e4, e5 player his whole life. And here Javakir senses that he has to go insane. So here, instead of, playing rook c1, maybe playing queen d3, he sacrifices his knight. Knight takes h6, because after takes, which is everyone thought he was going to play, because now it's queen g6, queen h7, queen h8, a very, very scary position. What Javakir throws in before he plays that is rook c1. Why does he throw in rook c1? Because if you play queen h6, it will be met with the very nice queen d4. And what queen d4 is, it prevents queen h8, right? So queen h7 check, king f8, and you can block back with your queen, right? Your queen goes back from d4 all the way to g7. So you get this kind of nice barrier of protection, and after this, black is up a piece, so obviously trading is not good, and if you go back, black can just go back, and black is very happy here. He's up a piece, he's up a pawn, and he's completely winning. So Pragg, that was Pragg's idea. If you play queen h6, he was going to play queen d4 and just guard against the dark square diagonals. But Javakir threw in rook c1. And now we got queen b5, queen h6, check, king a1. And now he still got queen d4. So even though he played rook c1, this kind of delayed the inevitable because of queen b5, queen b5, queen d3, queen d4. Right? And I sense that that's what Javakir missed. After he played rook c1, he missed that queen d3. There's queen d3 and then queen d4, which kind of guards against the dark squares. So queen h6, we get queen d3, king a1, queen d4, and now queen h7 check, king f8, and now Javakir chops off this pawn. And the problem is for Pragg that even though he's up a piece, it's still kind of scary, right? You can't play such leisurely, right? Because now rook h7 is going to come, and then rook f7 is a threat. If you play queen f4, maybe there's also like queen g7. Also, queen g7 is also checkmate. So you have to guard against this. You got to guard against this. There's like triple checkmate threats here. So maybe queen f6, but then if queen f6, you can play queen h5, then threatening rook h8 and the knight. So it's a very, very scary position, right? And since Pragg has no pawns around his king, he has to be extremely, extremely careful. So what he does is he plays rook e2. He's trying to find some counterplay in the position. We get queen f5 check, king e8, queen e6 check, king f8, queen f5. And this is a very, very common phenomenon, is that generally when players have increment, like they do in the Super Bet Chess Classic, which is going on right now, that they repeat once or they repeat twice, just to get that extra 30 seconds to 1 minute on the clock, which is what Javakir and Pragg does. Notice that, Javakir doesn't waste any time. He checks him back, and then Pragg. So if Pragg played king f8 here and we got queen f5, this would be threefold repetition. And since Pragg's up a knight, he doesn't want to do it, right? So it's a very, very like not really GM-ish thing, but it's a very common repetition thing to do. We got king d8. So he's ready to give up this rook, but the problem is you can't really take the rook, right? Because if you go queen g8, check, takes, queen b2 is checkmate, right? The rook and the queen meet up on b2. So queen g8 check, we get rook e. King d7 is also a possibility, but the problem with king d7 is that there's rook h7 check, and then you kind of just get swarmed from a lot of ways. Maybe queen b3, queen b7. If not that, a lot of different stuff can happen here. But generally what will happen if that after 97, you can take, because now if takes here, then you can actually take the rook. So takes, and there's no more checkmate on b2. And then if king takes, then you might actually get really checkmated here, because your king is out in the open. So black has to be really, really careful here, right? So we get queen g8 check, rook e8. He just wants to block back with his rook. Queen g5, and now knight e7. So the pieces are just kind of coming back, right? We got rook e2, rook e8, knight b4, knight d5, knight e7. So he's just kind of getting his pieces back. Rook e1, queen d3. So he wants to offer a trade with queen g6, trying to getting his pieces back, right? And here Javakir plays rook e3, and he kind of misses that just queen g6. And the problem here is that after queen b5, which is what Javakir plays, rook b8, black has officially consolidated. There is no more pins on this diagonal. If you go rook e1, which is what Javakir did play, Pragg kicks out his queen, kicks it out again, queen f7, everything's protected. He's going to play king d7 next, get his knight out, and after rook c1, we get knight d5 from Pragg, rook d3, and after rook to b6, guarding this pawn, he's going to play king c8, king b7, finish his development, manually castle, and he's up a knight. So Javakir can't do anything in this position. I'll move 42. Javakir resigned, and Pragg beats Javakir's 57-game win streak. And man, I don't know if we're going to see anything like that for a while, but it wasn't really about wins. He just didn't lose much. And that's kind of the main, component to his rise. And, this says a lot in the upcoming Gukesh versus Sindarov match, who kind of has the more momentum going into the match. And I'll give my prediction in an upcoming video. And until then, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Pragg beats Sindarov's unbeaten streak and kind of get some revenge for the candidates. Until next time, see you guys later. My pleasure, accept.